Hi, I'm Roland Woodmeckler. Today I want to show you a quick little scroll border. It goes like this. I'm going to just show it to you first, then I'll explain how to do it. But we're just going to bring around some loops. It's that simple. And then we're going to do a little loop underneath. And just like that. To do our designs today, I'm using a number 2 tip, although you can easily use a smaller tip, which a lot of times might be better, give you a finer detail. You could go even larger for certain occasions, but number 2 might be the largest you want to use. And make sure your icing is smooth, no lumps or bumps, so it will pipe out smooth and clean. Okay, now I'm going to show you more closely what I'm doing here. You're just going to start, come around, bring a simple loop. I'll just do a couple of them here, just like so. Now we're going to come back and to the top side here. Try to keep this fairly evenly spaced, your distance to the top. When I say evenly spaced, what I'm talking about is the distance from here to here, here to here. I mean, you're not going to keep it exact, but as long as it's close, it's going to be fine. Okay, once more, we're just going to make loops. I'm going to make these a little taller this time. And then come around, top side, 2 loops to the top, 1 to the underside, 2 loops to the top. Try to keep your spacing fairly consistent. Now, if you have trouble lining this up on your cake and keeping it fairly consistent, what you want to do is maybe a couple of lines. It's for practice purposes at least, and you don't really have to use these lines as absolute guides. You don't have to stay within these lines, for instance, but you can, as long as you stay relative to one part to the next. Let's say if I come around and I go up above the line just a little bit, then I come around up above the line, then up above the line. If I go to that same amount, then I'm going to get used to that pattern, and that's going to keep it more consistent. And the same with the bottom. If you're coming around, come up and around, and let's say I'm going to go down below that line just a little bit. So whatever you're doing, just so you're consistent each time, that's going to be fine, and you're going to come up with a nice pattern. Now you could actually do something like this with the line. It wouldn't look bad. It could be a nice attractive border for depending on the situation. Now these loops and borders in general can be made larger or smaller depending on how much space you want to fill on your cake and the occasion and so forth. So let's say I want a fairly small one. Maybe I can just put a fairly tight little loop. And then the same towards the bottom side. It could be fairly tight. Or now maybe I want to go up a little bit higher, so I'll loop this up a little bit higher. So we're going to come around and maybe I'll drop that bottom loop even a little lower then. Consequently, that's going to give a wider border. Now, let's say we want to cover quite a bit of area, so we might do a very tall version of this. It all just depends on what your situation is and what you want to do with this border. So again, we're going to come around and maybe I'll go way down below. So each time you do this, it gives it a little bit different appearance, a different flair. So something like that. So you can definitely vary the look. Small, medium, large, whatever the occasion calls for. Another thing you might do is add some pressure to your design. So you're going to pipe a puff with pressure, then maybe a little more pressure to one side, a little more pressure, lighter pressure, more pressure, lighter pressure, more pressure. And what this does is give you a little bit different accent to it. And the same thing to the bottom, you might use even pressure, maybe heavier at that, on that bottom loop, maybe heavier down there. So more pressure and then lighter, lighter, more, lighter. When you're adding the more pressure, let your tube rise up so it gives it a place, gives your icing a place to expand to. The best way to handle that is do your corners first. And you could actually mark these out more accurately. I'm just kind of guessing here. But you could mark them out more accurately with the rim of a cup or something like that. That would be just fine. But get your borders established to where you want them. And then come and add your loops. But count off how many, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 1, 2, 3. So it just depends. So I'm going to put 1, 2, I'm going to put 3 here. So I'm going to come up, 2, 3. Now I'm going to turn this around and do the other side the same fashion. So 1, 2, 3. So you know where you're going before you start. And the same here. Now this one, I'm just going to put 2 loops. 1, 2. So that if you do it this way, it's going to come out relatively even. So you have, so your result then is something like this. Then you can come around with your inner line here, where you're coming up and over, and bring this around. Now you can go up. I'm going to stop it right there and turn this. It's probably better to work right side up when you're doing this most of the time. There may be times when it's not possible, but with a little practice you'll get used to doing it upside down and every which way. So let's say, so something like that. So our result is like this for a cake with corners. Now suppose we have a round cake. Again, unless you mark it off ahead of time just exactly where you want it, you're going to end up with a compromise, but most of the time that's going to be fine. If you did mark it, you could get it more exact, but then you're going to have to pipe exactly over your marks. And again, you might mark with the edge of a cup or something like that, or a marker of some sort. But generally speaking, what we're going to do is start off and just come around. Oh, I'm going to turn it here, turn the cake so we can bring it on around. I'm calling this a cake. Not really much of a cake, but don't do that. I put my finger in it right there. That was not what I intended to do, but it'll work. Now when you get to this point, kind of figure out how many you got left. I can pretty much put 1 right there, so that's going to work out pretty good. But that's what you want to do. Stop towards the end and put that last one in. Now we're going to come around, start just any place, and add these accent lines. Okay, now with the accent lines, we're going to continue around and just fill it out. I'm working upside down here, so this is probably not the best way to do this, but see if I can pull it off. Yeah, pretty close. So something like that, and what that gives you is a nice little line border around your whatever cake would be appropriate. This is really nice on a marzipan cake with a chocolate, either real chocolate or even chocolate colored buttercream. It makes a really nice accent. These kind of things could be very nice as accents on anniversary cakes, wedding cakes, even as long as it's subtle. You want like white on white, that kind of thing, and it just makes a nice accent. Sometimes if you're looking for more drama to it, on holiday cakes, many times I'll do this for a Christmas cake, and I'll put red, one line the one line will be red and the next one might be green, and so forth. So there are times you can change it up and really turn it into something that you can use for many different occasions. So it's really not that hard. Give it a try.